Mohommed Ali Shah, we've seen these tall leaders arriving in India since yesterday. There is a requirement of change that needs to be brought from within India. Now, the messaging has been clear for very long, that how long will the rest of the world continue to suffer from the problems that are being raised, created by the West, by Europe, by America. Now, if there is an alternative that we have to think about and implement, how do we start, where do we start? Because we understand that these organizations and foundations, whether it is NATO, whether it is United Nations, they are the creation of the West. And they really have not solved purposes when it comes to issues and concerns and problems that the southern part of the southern hemisphere raises. So, is there a way to then come up with an alternative to the United Nations, the World Bank, the IMF for that matter? You know, there was a Bretton Woods conference that was held, and there was a Bretton Woods mechanism that was built, and there were three nations that were all important. India, beg your pardon, it was Russia, United States of America and UK. So, which are these three nations, four nations that are going to come together to create a conference, a mechanism, a system that is going to be in contrast to the age-old setups that the world continues to follow blindly? Clearly, when it's a global world order that has brought itself forth, and there needs to be a decisive change in that old world order and a need to shift to the new world order.
Okay, Megha, you know, the very fact that India believes in the philosophy from Maha-Upanishad, Vasudha Kutumbakam, where the whole world is one family. It's made of three Sanskrit words: Vasudha, the world, the light, and part of one family. So India is going to leave no stone unturned, will do its best to get everyone together for national unity. In fact, our Prime Minister also said that we should actually get factors which unite us and eliminate the factors that divide us. In fact, to quote the Prime Minister further, he said the G-20 has a critical role to play in finding the right balance between growth and efficiency on one hand and resilience on the other. So most certainly, how we also saw during bilateral we saw talks, on the side talks. You know, apart from that, we saw the Russian rep and the Chinese rep. They had a talk. Same room was shared by the American rep. So this means basically because Russia and America, I would not say Ukraine and Russia, I would say Russia and America are at war, I would say. America is fighting through Ukraine's shoulder. That's a different thing altogether. But now, so it is a good sign where the Russian foreign minister, the Chinese foreign minister, and the American foreign minister are in the same room, and they were in the same room when the side talks were going on. Now, similarly, again, just a few days back in Bangalore, part of the G-20 summit only, when the finance ministers of different countries met up and the governors of the central banks, they met up. That time, Russia accused that, saying that India we could not reach to a common consensus because there was sharp difference of opinion between countries from who were supporting the West, the Europe, that is the NATO countries, and then Russia. So they could not really be proper communication there. But here it's going to be, I am certain of it, it's going to be a very, very common ground. And as Sanjeev Srivastava rightly said earlier, that even the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, when he had come to India, he mentioned that when our foreign minister in July, he made a quote. He had said that Europe should change its attitude because Europe thinks, some countries from Europe think that their problem are the world's problem, but the world problems are not their problems. And the German Chancellor also, when he had come to India a couple of days back, he mentioned there is some steam in it, there is some merit to that quote, to that statement. So most certainly the very fact that India has played the role of a global leader, emerging leader, be it anywhere. I mean, you talk about a crisis that happened in Turkey. Well, India was one of the first to react. We sent our NDRF team, we sent our medical rep, we sent the whole rescue team was there from India.
Right.
Okay. When we talk about a crisis in Afghanistan, India is there. When we talk about a crisis in Turkey, India is there. Gulf War, India is there. When we talk about any crisis anywhere, India is there. So India is basically leading from the front, and India is showing the way for the world, Megha.
Okay, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, I spoke about, the Atlantic Charter that took place right after World War II. Now, is this the time to allow for an Indo-Pacific Charter to be built, with India at the forefront? There already are voices from France, from UK, from Russia, from United States of America. They are all rallying behind India to allow for this charter to be created with Indo-Pacific in the forefront. How can this be formulated? How can this be implemented? How can this be hastened?
Megha, right now, see, same time, we have the right time right now because we have Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy. In fact, she is the chief guest for the Raisina dialogue, which is happening around the same time right now. So, and in fact, she was the youngest, she was voted as the youngest Prime Minister of Italy. In fact, she's just 46 years old. And our Prime Minister also congratulated her. In fact, she's there. So when we have young dynamic leaders, and India always believes in leading the way forward by personal example, India would walk the talk. So whenever there is a crisis, India has been there. It's like telling, I'll quote it with an analogy over here, Megha. You tell a small child to read books, the small child will not read books. But you read books yourself, the small child will follow your example by, you don't tell a child, you show a child. Similarly, you don't tell a person, you show a person. Similarly, you don't, even in diplomatic forums or in international forums, you will not, where every small little gesture is actually observed with a microscopic lens, right from a handshake to the body language to a hug to where you kept your shoulders to whether you have attended the dinner or not. Every small thing, the way you are dressed, the way every point is taken care of. That's in a macro level diplomatic meeting. Now, when you actually show something on ground and you follow that philosophy, others are bound to follow it as well as a leader. Whereas as a leader, because when India is leading the G-20 summit, so India is showing the way, not just telling. It's like, it's like this this quote from a boss and a leader. A boss says I, a leader says we. A boss says get there on time, a leader gets there ahead of time together. A boss knows how it's to be done, a leader shows how it's to be done. A boss lets his people know where he stands, a leader lets his people know where they all stand. A boss takes the credit, a leader gives it away. So India is a leader. India is actually, we saw even in March last year, towards the end of March, there were so many diplomatic visits, so many foreign visits, so many foreign delegation that come here, so many political leaders that come here at the same time. Now, was that too much of a coincidence? No, because the people had imposed faith in India. I'll quickly conclude by saying, Megha, in 1750, India was contributing to 1/4 of the GDP of the world. And these are figures not by the government or anything. These are figures from what I'm going to quote right now is from the UNO. It's from the World Bank. Now, what happened from 1947 till today, the FDI has been $950 billion. And out of which, in the last 90 months, that is 7.5 years only, our GDP our FDI, they have been over $5.5 billion. So the kind of growth India and 162 countries, Megha, have invested into India right now. We have FDIs from 162 countries. India is a global leader, not just by showing the way. There was a time when India was importing.
Okay, fair enough. Those are important points.